Hi everyone, how you all doing? Today is an interesting video because I've just come back from a tournament known as the London Chess Classic. Right, it's a yearly tournament they do, organized by chess in schools and communities, and it's a pretty good tournament. It's actually one of my favorites, and I came back from my retirement from chess just to play in this tournament. I haven't played in a chess tournament in like 2 years, and I probably won't play in another one in 2 years. That's how worth it this tournament is. That's why I entered it. If you're interested, because of my rating being under 2000, I was forced to play in the under 2000 section, though I would have loved to play in the over 2000 against some grandmasters and IMs and whatever. Anyway, I just want to go over my games real quick. I don't want to go in too much depth because there's 9 of them, but maybe I'll do like a part one and a part two, depending on the timing and whatever. As you know, I like to make things up as I go, so um, I guess there we go. All right, let's start off with the first game. I was playing against a guy called Opponent One. That was his actual name, by the way. No, in all seriousness, though, he was kind enough to. I arrived at the game late, and he was kind enough to write his name down on my score sheet for me. So, thank you so much if you're watching this video. If you're the guy who wrote the name down on my paper. Um, anyway, um, for most of these games, I want to skim through the opening. However, the opening in this game was I think it's really worth it, like studying it in depth. So my opponent played a Perk defense, and um, yeah, this is how the starting went. It's just basic. Here, most people would probably play Bishop E3, F3, Queen D2, long castles, and then start their own like attack here, right? This is called like the 150 attack or something like that. But I went for something more risky. Bishop C4, Queen E2. This approach is called the mad dog variation, and White's idea is to go for a quick e5 and force this knight away, and then to play like h4, h5 when black castles and get a really, really strong attack. So my opponent here, he played the best move, knight c6, which attacks this pawn here. And do you think I defended it? Do you think I? Of course not. I'm not a child. I'm a man now. I'm 18 years old. I played e5. Yeah. Why did my voice get deeper? Anyway, e5. Um, the idea is, I think you can now see the idea. Oh my god. Yeah. And as you can see, I have 3 minor pieces for his queen. Yeah, that's the idea. Is it plausible? Is it good? Well, if I turn on the engine, um, it says it's pretty much the position is like kind of equalish, right? Equal, right? Like even really. Nothing special. But that's because as black, the engine can defend well. The 3 minor pieces are quite aggressive, and so I'm going to have quite an attacking game. My opponent is going to be quite defensive, and I think only an engine or a really strong player would be able to defend this quite perfectly. Yeah, I'll just put the evaluation on. Yeah, all right, I'll keep the evaluation bar. I mean, I'll turn on the engine lines if I need to. Anyway, my opponent here played the move. What is what is this? Chess.com, you're gonna have to really fix your bugs, man. Um, sorry. Cool. When I press this, like thing, it's okay. C6, and the idea is to get the queen out and potentially B5, but I don't think that's the actual idea. It just looks scary. I went H4. The reason is because I was predicting him to go Queen A5, and if he's ever able to play G5, it just traps my bishop. So H4 stops that. He went Queen there. Maybe he will swing over and do something, or like I don't know, put pressure here. It's a logical place to put the queen and be active. I put my rook in the center, and he went bishop to e6, just to trade off one of my minor pieces. After this trade, I played knight f4, and a lot of pressure on this pawn, so he obviously moved it, and I put my knight in. He goes king to d7, and I go knight to g5, rook e8. Nothing special so far. F4 is my first mistake of the game, unfortunately. Keep in mind, look at the ratings. I'm a 1900, he's a 1600. So I'm playing for the win. F4 is a move I wanted to play for the win. But for reflection's sake, the engine says I should just play it safe. I should just go A3, rook e4, rook d2, and play a more slow maneuvering approach. I shouldn't rush to open it up. And that's my mistake. Because something that you, and especially me, I got to understand is that Is queen... something something I've got to understand is that it's queen versus 3 minor pieces, right? And at the moment the pawns are quite like closed, you know. As soon as the pawns become open, the queen will outclass these 3 minor pieces so long as the king is safe, which it is at the moment. Um, so yeah, opening up the position is actually a bad idea for me, just because this queen will dominate the 3 minor pieces. That's my mistake, and I've learned from it now. So the game continued 96 and f3. Let me just hide the moves. Okay, takes, queen h5, bishop f4, just to get the bishop away, and then he took my pawn. Knight e4. By the way, for those of you who are like kind of a bit lost with this game and you're bad at tactics, king takes e6. Puzzle for you. As you can see, the evaluation bar is shot right up, and it's now like literally a beautiful coffee latte. Please find the move for white that wins on the spot here. This is just like a tactic for kind of maybe not beginners, but if you're like working on your basic tactics. And actually, if you figured out moving your knight anywhere to attack the queen, here or here, doesn't matter, is double check, and his king has to move, and then you take the knight, you take the queen, and you're winning basically, right? This is not a position black wants to be in. Anyway, that's why my opponent didn't take. I'm just saying that for those of you who are kind of, as an exercise for those of you who are working on your tactics. King c8, just safe place. And now I found an absolutely crazy move. Please pause the video and find it, please. Lo and behold, rook takes d6. Ah, yes. Beautiful move. Unfortunately, black has still got an advantage, but I mean, this is the best move in the position. My opponent didn't take the rook, but if he did, as you can see, it's now a draw, because I would take this, and the king has to move, obviously. It can go here or here. Obviously, you're not going to go there just because you walk right into a discovery, and I take your rook for free, and this is just not good. Obviously, you're going to go here, right, as black. And according to the engine, I have nothing better other than to just check, and just repeat. No. This way, sorry. And just repeat moves. King c8, knight d6, king d8, knight b7. And honestly, given how the game went, I ended up losing this game. Spoiler alert. I would have been happy to take this draw. But my opponent, he seems to be a safe player, and he played the best move, rook d8, actually. The reason I can't take this rook with the knight simply is just because of queen takes f4, check, and after I move the king, I'm just losing. 2 minor pieces for a queen, no chance. So then rook takes d8 because it's a check, and he recaptured by rook. Bishop g5 now to attack this, and rook d5 takes. I'm a bit greedy, I love taking pawns. b6. And here the engine says I should have gone like... I did play b3 by the way. Queen g4, yeah. I should have gone check, and then put the knight back and play in a sort of safe way with the rook and with the knight, right? However, pause the video. I'm just kidding. Don't pause the video. Just, I played a blunder. Pause the video and try to find my blunder. Why do I do this to myself? I played knight c3, and the valuation bar has gone from -1 to -5. And as you can see, the engine says queen g3, which is the move that he found. The reason this move is so broken and so strong is just because this is a fork, right? And problem is, he has taken my rook with check. So then all my pieces basically fall. And this is why it's so bad to open up the position when you have minor pieces against the queen. Against the queen, you want to close it down. Minor pieces versus a queen. Just because the queen is able to like skirt around the board so easily. And I'm cooked here, right? There's nothing I can do. In the actual game, I went rook f1. And after a few moves, he's threatening mate, by the way. And rook e2, he skewers my pieces. And I threw in the towel. I just resigned here. I was really disappointed with this first round performance. But, I mean, who can blame me, really? I turned up late to the game due to a train delay. I came back straight from uni, and there was a lot going on. So I wasn't mentally ready for this, unfortunately. But luckily, I kind of learned from this loss, and in the next, I managed to win a lot of games after this. So let's move on to game number 2 and see what happens. So game number 2, I was playing a lady who's been playing chess for a really long time. So I was quite looking forward to this, the experience that she would bring to the table, I suppose. So, but once again, lower rated than me. So this is a game that I really should be winning. If I the last game I should have won, and I lost that. If I lose this, I was like, I'm gonna quit this tournament. Get me out. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I would have been really upset if I lost this game. Anyway, let's see how the game went. So I'll skim through the opening. She played a London system, and I played like a flexible d6 move and c6. I put my bishop there to pin against the queen, and then knight d7, queen c7, just to break with e5, which is what I did. And here she played an interesting move, knight g5, which I hadn't seen in the game when I was calculating. Of course, the engine doesn't like the move, just because I traded and I pushed the knight back, and then I was able to win this bishop. The reason this bishop was causing me so much problems is just because I kind of, in hindsight, this c6, d6, e5, queen c7 setup was quite atrocious from me, just because of all of this pressure on this e5 pawn and the queen and the pin here. So knight h5 was imperative. I had to play this, otherwise I'm finished. She long castled, then we swapped. And here, I was like, okay, I'm playing a weaker player. I need to go for the win, but last game, I played a really risky opening, and there was no reason for me to make that risk. I need to make calculated risks. And I think b5, the move that I played, is quite a calculated risk, even though I've literally given an advantage to white, according to the engine. But I think she got a bit scared of me, unfortunately, so she reacted really badly to this. She reacted in a really kind of passive way. a3. Really, not really good move. It's a really weak move, just because eventually I'm going to get a pawn here. Not now, but eventually, after a5, right? I'm going to get my pawn here. Not only am I attacking this, I'm also attacking that. So, whoops. It becomes even more of a threat playing b4 for me. So she essentially gave me some hooks to attach myself onto. That's why a3 is such a weak move by her. I went a5 to double down on it. Knight b1. Once again, I don't know what she was thinking. I guess to protect these, it's logical, but way too passive. In chess, really, if someone's attacking you, you have two ways to deal with it. You can either defend them, which is what she tried to do, or you can counter-attack. Make your own threat, and that's what knight h4, the engine's top choice, does. It threatens the knight to come here, the knight to come there, and to bombard on the d file, on the d6 square, attack the bishop, attack the pawn, and I have to deal with it by playing g6, and it sort of delays my attack, right? She didn't think like this though. She thought to defend me instead of counter-attack, which was the wrong approach. I continued with b4, and then she played queen to c4, which is the best move in my opinion, just to get the queen to an active square. After this exchange and rook b8, getting my rook on this beautiful open file, she went rook to d2, which is a blunder, and I immediately punished it with queen b7. The idea behind queen b7 is to create a battery with the rook and to attack the knight, obviously, right? And she has to defend. By the way, quick question. This is for those of you who are like more advanced at chess, sort of 1800 rated and higher. So I had two options here. I spent 2 minutes. It's a really obvious move, right? Queen b7. It's really obvious. But the reason I spent 2 minutes thinking about this obvious and only move is because queen b6 or queen b7, what is actually better? Genuine question. To those of you who are able to answer it. Genuine question. I know the answer and I'll tell you. But have a think about it. Alright, I'll tell you now. So the difference is queen b6. In some lines, hypothetically, in the future, my knight is going to move away, right? Which is going to allow white's knight to capture this, and this queen is going to be attacking that, right? And if my queen is on b7, and in the future, white gets this kind of attack going, all I need to do to defend it is, after my knight moves out of the way, all I need to do is move the bishop away, right? Like this. Because my queen will defend the pawn from b7, but it won't defend the pawn from b6. That's why I went to b7, not to b6. I was anticipating like 10 moves, no, 5 moves ahead, right? That's a really important skill in chess. She went queen a2, which is the only move that protects the knight, and knight c5. Immediate threat of knight b3 check, which forks these two. And obviously, if rook b2, then this fork comes in and you're just losing. So she played king c2 to protect this square, and I played knight e4, attacking the rook over here. Rook e2 is what she played. If she goes to d3 or to d1, I would have probably taken this and won the exchange because of a knight fork on the rooks. And there's no other space for her to go, so e2 makes a lot of sense. And now that this rook is weak, intuitively speaking, I mean, the rook is unguarded. What do you guys think is the best move to continue the attack? Just logically, right? Logical move. That move, I'll tell you, is queen b5, right? Attacks the rook, forces her to do something, and she did try to do something. And now, pause the video. I'm really, really proud that I was able to find this tactical sequence from here. Please pause the video and try and find what I played. So, the first move is quite obvious. I played queen a4 check, right? If I don't play this move, she's going to put her pawn on a4 and I have no more attack. Or, I mean, I'm going to have a slower attack. So queen a4 check, forcing the king to go either here or there. d3, I mean, I don't really need to explain anything, I think. Rook d8 is just crushing. The knight has to block and, yeah, I take the knight, I win the game. So she went to c1. And if you found the next move, you are a genius. Boom. What else needs to be said? Simple. It's not simple, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the reason why this is such a powerful tactic, well, white can take two ways. If you take by king, then beautiful family fork. So she took by queen, and bishop takes a3 check. Look at, by the way, look at the coordination between my bishop, my queen on these two diagonals, right? As well as my knight over here. And eventually, when I castle, my rook is going to join via the b file or the d file as well. Beautiful coordination between these three and eventually 4 pieces. She went rook to b2, the only move to block the check. And I continue with knight takes c3, attacking the queen. So she moved it, offering me a trade. And here, I don't know, I was considering like entering an endgame where I take here and I take here and I go knight here and I'm a pawn up. But I found something better in the game. Queen b4. The reason this is better is because it keeps the tension, it keeps the pressure. White can't move the king because I'm just going to take the rook for free. White can't really move the queen anywhere either, like to d3, because I'm going to take the rook for free. If you go to d2, that doesn't change anything. White can't move the rook because he's pinned. She is pinned. She can't move. I mean, this rook has nothing to do. This knight, she tried to do something with g4. I don't know what it does. g5 maybe. I just castled to kind of. This was a very BM or bad manner sort of move. Not disrespectful, but very BM-y. Just because it reminds me of the clip I saw on YouTube where it was like a football match going on, right? And one of the guys, he tried to kick the ball into the net, but the ball went really, really far away from the net. It wasn't even close to a goal, right? The goalkeeper, the guy guarding the net, sarcastically jumped, pretending to save the ball that was going all the way there anyway, just to make the striker. Castling in this position feels like that. I don't know. It feels like that to me. Maybe I'm just digging too deeply into it. But anyway, yeah, I'm just yapping. Castling, I just want to put the rook there. She goes knight takes pawn with the idea of putting the knight there to defend, and I go knight a4, and yeah, check. And yeah, she didn't take because the knight is guarding the rook, and I take the rook. Queen b5. The reason I played this is to control this diagonal here, because inevitably when she does end up moving the knight, the king can't escape there when it's check. So she comes forward, and after this check, she resigns. The engine says mate in 8. The game would have probably gone like this. Yeah. It's pointless for her to continue. I'm quite happy with that win. Even though I was playing a much lower rated player, this was a nice recovery from my really big upset of a loss from my first game. Right, that first loss gave me trauma, legit, and I recovered from it quite well. So yeah, simple game. Let's go to game 3 now that I played against Op3. That was her action. No, I'm just kidding. This game was actually pretty interesting because the person I'm playing in this game, she's actually like a Twitch, YouTube like streamer or something. I'm not sure how that stuff works. Maybe I should start streaming my something, but she basically had like her own little camera in the game, like recording herself, and it did distract me for a bit of time. But once I got used to it, I was like, yeah, cool. Um, let's look at the game anyway. So once again, I do want to skim through the opening, but this one was particularly interesting. So she played a French defense. I did prepare for this game because her openings did come up on the databases as playing the French defense Vinoer variation with bishop b4. Um, so bishop b4, and here I had prepared to capture this pawn and play bishop d3. This is a I've seen Carlsen play this approach against the Winoer before, where basically you kind of put your knight there, castle, and start a slow maneuvering kingside attack game with like knight g3, queen f3, knight h5, knight f5, and those kind of things. Bishop g5, really slow, really kind of maneuvery and kingside attack. Something that I excel in personally, maneuvering kingside attack positions. She goes knight to e7, which is not a big mistake, but I wanted to play a really provocative playstyle, queen h5. What can I say? You committed your knight there. What did you expect? Like, what else was I going to play? Such an obvious move. I'm just kidding. Anyway, she played knight c6 as if nothing had happened. The best move in this position is to castle because of checkmate. Knight b6 was played. I played a3 to drive the bishop away. She captured this. And the reason I wanted her dark squared bishop to not be in the game is just because she's going to have to chase my queen away at some point with g6. And the move g6, which is what she played, creates a lot of dark squared weaknesses. And without the bishop, she's kind of cooked. And I went queen there, even though I'm fully aware that I think this was a better move. I think. No? Never mind. What does the engine say? Does the engine agree with me? Never mind. Queen g5. Okay. What happens after... How to drain lymph fluid naturally. Try the wall. What is this? Okay. Betfred. Come on, this is meant to be a family-friendly channel. Sorry. I went queen f3, but what happens after queen h6? I'm just interested. Okay, bishop f5. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Queen g7, rook g8. Okay. Bishop g5. Yeah, it's just the game. Anyway, I played queen f3, which is apparently an inaccuracy. And she goes bishop f5, which makes the most sense to me. Knight e2 to try and go there, I guess. And after a few moves, I was actually here considering playing the move g4, even though it's not a good move. But yeah, I would have played it maybe if I was going for a win. I played h3 to protect this square, h5 to protect the square that I was protecting, and now bishop f4. I think bishop g5 is a better move. Just because it kind of restricts these pawns more. It's obvious in this position, like, if you've played like this, you're obviously as black going to castle queenside, right? Or leave your king in the center. So you're going to probably go rook g8, g5, g4. The move bishop g5 would have stopped this in its tracks completely, but because I'm a doofus, I didn't play that move. Rook g8 is a good move, and I went king d2. Yeah. The reason this is such a terrible move is because the king is pretty safe here, surprisingly. But it's such a committal move. Like, in chess, you have to understand this is the mistake I made. You have to keep the option. You have to keep your options open to kind of keep your opponent thinking constantly. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? As soon as I went king d2, it's guaranteed my king is going to be in the center. I committed myself there. There's less things for her to worry about. She goes knight a5. I think it's a good move. The immediate threat, in case you're wondering, is to take this. Let's say I go like rook there or something. The immediate threat is to take this, right? And taking by king is terrible. Taking by queen, you just put your knight there. Taking by pawn is even worse because of this fork here. Anticipating the fork, I played rook a to b1, just so that I can take my pawn safely. And a6 was played. I think this is quite a, not bad, but a really inaccurate move. And it's really a sort of scaredy cat move. I think if I was black, I'm considering a move like queen a. Never mind. Don't listen to me. A6 is a really, really good move. It's a really strong move. It supports. No, I'm just kidding. Queen a4 ideas, I suppose. Knight c4, queen a4. This pawn is now weakened. This pawns are terrible. Yeah. a6. I went rook here to get on this file, and long castles to get off the file. Knight c1 was interesting by me, even though the engine hates that move. I just want to go here and there, simple as that. And even if I don't make it to this square, I'm willing to come here and dislodge this knight, just so that I don't get something to worry about. So after rook e8, knight b3, capture. Here, after bishop takes d3, I'm very proud to say that I fought for 14 entire minutes here. I spent about a third of my remaining time on the move knight c5, which turned out to be a blunder. Thanks, Stockfish. I love you so much. The idea is to just fork this. Of course, c takes d3 was much better. And this is just the game, right? Swap, double up on the b file, really annoy you there. Go a5, a4, c4, c5. Yeah, but no, I was going for it, 14 minutes spent on this move. And she goes queen c6, which is not a good move. Her best move, according to the engine, is, I think, bishop e4. Let's check the lines. Knight c4 check and bishop e4 are the best. So kind of tied to each other. Knight c4, this basically, right? I guess the lines they transpose. Let's look at bishop e4. Bishop e4. Basically, in the game, I was thinking of taking this, and after this capture here, knight f6. The reason this is so strong, or it looked strong to me, is because of this fork, right? And black shouldn't play this, but if black goes here, I can just capture this, right? And I'm completely winning here, right? I'm at exchange up, and black has no compensation. However, black has this clever move, bishop e4, right, to block the rook from taking the knight. And the engine says I go f3, and this is particularly interesting because after g5 takes, check, king moves back, knight takes, g8, bishop takes, f6, and eventually this trade happens. Well, I'm in exchange up, right, as the white pieces. If you count the pawns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Black is down a pawn and an exchange, but is still -2. What's going on? What's happening? I don't get why. Well, actually, maybe it's because I'm going to struggle to get my king into the game, and I'm going to struggle to get my rook into the game. And later on down the line, yeah, like kind of in this position, yeah, I'm going to really struggle to get my pieces in the game just because black's going to take this pawn and have a passed pawn. That's why this is winning for black. Yeah, neither me nor my opponent, who is 1600 rated, would have been able to see that. Even Magnus, okay, Magnus would have seen this probably, but stop glazing Magnus. He doesn't deserve it. Anyway, what I was going to do is go knight c5, right? And attack the queen. She goes queen c6, and I take the bishop, right? Knight f5, and the swap happens. Now video record cases. Okay, sorry, someone just entered my room. Let him cook. Anyway, bishop takes, knight c5 is this fork here, right? And she played the complete wrong move, queen c6. I don't blame her though. She had like half an hour to think, so I guess, yeah. I took this to guard this square and knight f5 to open up this file. Let me just turn off the engine. I don't like the engine being there. After the swap and g4, attack the knight. I was just doing this just to open up the queen. Like, it's really difficult in this position to decide what to do with white. Like, you want to attack this, but it's defended like 50 million times. You want to attack on the e file, but black is more dominant on the e-file after knight f5. Yeah, this swap at g4 I think was necessary for me. I think it was my best continuation, and I think the engine agrees if you want to check it. After this swap, she played knight g7, which is a big mistake, even though the evaluation bar only goes up by 0.6. She had to go knight to d6 and be sort of intact and be really defensive, and black actually has no weaknesses in this position, and I really can't break through. That's why the engine gives it a 0.0. This would have probably ended in a draw. I would really struggle to break through here. And if I do try to do anything with my rook, anything goofy like that, the queen can just come in and checkmate me. So that's why knight g6, knight g7 is a mistake because of bishop h6. I attack this, and you lose a pawn guaranteed, right? I'm now attacking this pawn over here, so she had to move the knight away somewhere so that the queen can guard it. In the game she captured, but I think knight d8 was a better move just because it attacks the queen and forces me to move, even though I would have been quite happy with this position anyway. I'm a pawn up, I just need to sit tight, create a passed pawn, play slowly, and I should be able to win this one. Anyway, she goes knight c5, which made the victory a bit easier for me because I captured, and this knight is out of the game unless she goes queen e6. And after this change of queens, this endgame was quite easily winning for me. All I had to do was put my bishop in the center, chuck my pawn up, put my rook behind it, and the rest is history. So she anticipated me, which is really good from her, whilst also bringing her knight into the game. I went f4 to go f5, and knight e7. I think this move is kind of not really good just because it allows my bishop in there, and she basically wasted 2 moves pretty much. Better was to go rook f6. Another problem with knight e7 is it kind of stops the rook from retreating. If I were to go rook h1, she would have no answer, basically. Anyway, this swap happened, and king d7. Here, I played rook h7 check, because despite the fact that she can literally block me, try and pause the video and find a spectacular move that I found that wins the game on the spot. Okay, so if you found the move, well done. For those of you who didn't find the move, basically the idea is you do want to take this rook. Not now, but eventually, right? And the reason this isn't quite winning is because, well, white wants to create a passed pawn here. That's going to be quite easy. Just go king e3, f5, king f4. However, by that time, black can create a passed pawn by going b6, and if I take, she will recapture, and he has a 2 versus 1 here. You're just going to go a5, b5, b4 or something, or b5 first, right? However, b6, if I decide not to take, you're just going to go b5, a5, b4 straight away and get a passer here, and it's just a draw. So I hope that's a good clue for those of you who couldn't find my brilliant move. You want to swap rooks, but there's an intermezzo to insert in here first, right? One move to put in to kind of disrupt these pawns. And yes, congratulations, the move is c6 check. I'm really happy with this move just because it forces her to capture. You can't take by king, obviously, because I win the rook. You can't move the king anywhere else just because I'm going to take this and promote. So that's why this capture took place. And after this swap and king c3, a5 to stop king b4 and king b3 to go there and there, she just resigned. The game, if it continued, it would have gone something like this, right? Takes. I would have gone like king takes a5, and problem with this position for black is that after I create a passed pawn, the king is kind of bound to this area here. So after something like this, there's no way to stop this pawn from queening in time, right? So that's why she resigned, and I won this game. It wasn't a smooth win by any shot like the previous game, but it was. I'm still happy with this win. I didn't lose, at least. Okay, game number 4. I was playing with the black pieces, and I'm gonna skim through this game just because, long story short, my opponent just blundered in one move. So I played a Budapest Gambit, one of my favorite openings, and he played this sideline where you go e4, f4, and try and put the knight there, bishop there, and yeah. I'm quite comfortable against this just because the bishop on c5 is so annoying, and the fact that he had to put his knight there to remove the bishop and give me a beautiful outpost says a lot about how comfortable I am in this position, right? And then we did opposite side castling, and I was quite happy with this position for myself. I went f6 to go g5. By the way, if you listen to Grandmaster Ben Feingold, he tells you to never play f6, right? However, once you become good enough at chess, you need to learn when to break the rules, when to play f6, when to play, when to give up your queen. Not now, obviously, but anyway. And I played g5. He tries to do something similar on the opposite side, but he is a bit too slow. And I'm in a situation where I'm threatening g4, and such a problem because let's say, hypothetically, let's say he goes b4. I'm going to go g4 against him. Well, not now, but the idea is to go like g3, right? Not this exact move order, but this was my idea basically, to checkmate him like this. This didn't happen in the game. He didn't want to go into any of this, so he swapped, took control of the f-file. I decided to trade queens, put my knight there, and I have some beautiful knights. King h1, just to avoid, because let's say white plays a random move. Try and find the continuation for black that wins here. I think it's quite obvious. If it's not, then feel free to take all the time you need. Well, basically, you want to take this, and now the rook is hanging. It's unprotected, so boom. It's check. You come in with the check, and you come in with the rook, and you win the rook. So he played king h1 to stop this from being a check, right? I went g4 to put pressure on this, and I really wanted him to take so that I could get my rook in the game like that. Bishop f1, I don't know about this. I think he was hoping that I take this so that he can then put his bishop really comfortably on here. I played rook g to e8 to support the knight and to put pressure on the e4 pawn. And then after bishop f4, knight g6, which I think was a mistake because it allowed rook f7. I mean, this is not a good move on its own, but I played rook d7. After this, my opponent played a really bad move, and the evaluation bar immediately says I'm winning because of knight takes f4, and he resigned. That's it, really. Unfortunately, this was quite an uneventful game. I'm sorry that he blundered like this. He's an 1800. He's a pretty good player, I suppose. So he didn't play his best today, and he knows it. But I mean, it's the game. He's definitely moved on from it, and yeah. One thing that's really good was my ability to. Yes, he blundered. It was like his own fault that he lost, but I was the one who put him in this high pressure situation. If you're interested, by the way, in that game, he had like 10 minutes on his clock. I had like half an hour on my clock when he made the blunder. He was in a lot of pressure, right? And this endgame is pretty good for me anyway because of all this pressure, right? And under the pressure, he just blundered. So yeah, that's it really. That's what happened in game 4. There's nothing to it. That's literally it. Let's move on to game number 5 now. Okay, so context. I'm on 3 points out of 4 now in the tournament. While before playing this game right here, game number 5, I was on 3 points out of 4. I was like, cool. So I'm near the top somewhere. I need to keep winning and winning. And I ended up playing against this guy who is actually the highest rated player in the tournament, 1995, and I'm 42. So who cares? Okay, so I did a bit of preparation, and in the end, I chose to play the London system, just because I don't know. I feel like he would really hate playing against it, and that was true. He did really not enjoy. So the opening is kind of boring, but pretty much he allowed me to attack him to death, and I didn't play the best moves really. I think here, in this position, I should have gone like Queen h3 or something. And then basically the plan for white is to go knight f3, queen g3, h4, h5, h4. What is this dog doing, man? Sorry. Anyway, I went queen h6, and I fought for quite a long time in this position up to rook e8. I fought for 2 entire minutes. I know, right? Long time. I'm just kidding. I played h4. The idea behind this is I want to go h5 and take this, right? Not at the moment, but yeah. For example, he went bishop f8, right? And I went queen g5, and he swapped queens. If he had gone something like f6, I will be winning after this capture, right? And h5, pretty much. And despite the fact that the queens are off, my attack is deadly for him, and he's going to be down material or really inactive at least. So that's why he swapped queens, despite the fact that it surrenders the h file to me completely. And basically, the easiest plan for me is to just move my king, double my rooks, and win this pawn quite easily. So I went king e2 to try and implement this plan. He goes bishop e7 to bring the knight back. I go knight f3 to implement another plan that I had found. Knight h2, knight g4, and knight f6. Right in there, force a trade, put my pawn on f6, and then double up and win this pawn on the h-file with my rooks. Right? That was my plan, basically. He goes b5 to try and counter-attack me. If someone attacks you on the king side, attacking them in the center or on the queen side makes a lot of sense. So that's what he was doing. He played it well, I think. Knight h2, now h6. It's logical, but the engine doesn't like it. Just because the engine believes you don't have to sacrifice your pawn like this to hang on. But he did sacrifice his pawn, and he went king h7, and his king looks pretty safe. I go knight f3 to kind of take control over this g5 square. And bishop g5. The reason this is a mistake is he played d4, but which is the right idea, but he played it one move too early, if you know what I mean. Try and pause the video and, in fact, let me flip it. Find a really strong continuation for black, for my opponent. Okay, so that continuation is to go c4. You attack the bishop, right? And if and when it moves, like here, boom, right? 2 threats. Threat number 1, you want to fork and win the bishop. Threat number 2, take this with check and then take the bishop for free. And yeah, it's not easy for me to deal with it, right? So this would have been winning for black, I'd say, or advantageous, advantage at least. So he goes d4 though. It's the wrong move, unfortunately, because after this series of trades, I'm just a pawn up, right, or 2 pawns up. I took this and put my bishop back and rook d5 f4 to protect this pawn. The rest of the end game was quite easy for me. I swap rooks, put my rook in a really good position, prevent his activity, and then after this trade I create a weakness here. Bishop b3 to pile up on it. What is this arrow? And after this trade, I put this intermezzo first. Took this, I want to go here, so he goes there. King e3 to try and come into there. And I create a pass pawn on the c file. He tries to go from behind, which is a really logical strategy. What are these gambling? I don't even gamble. What is this advertisement? I hate advertisements, man. Okay, so eventually I brought my king up, and my plan is to just go check, king e6, c7, and win the game. So this is what happened. Eventually, I was able to block my king, and he resigned here just because after this continuation, there's no way of stopping me from promoting. So yeah, this is how I won the game. I think it was pretty smooth, apart from that one place where like he missed a way to win by playing. He played d4, but he had to go c4 and then d4 after, right? So yeah, I guess not the smoothest win by me, but I didn't make any significant errors apart from that one. So yeah, that's that really. That's game number 5. I was on 4 out of 5 here. Okay, 43 minutes. All right, let's move on to game number 6 then, shall we? Yes. Okay. For some reason, I've lost my score sheet for this game, so I'm kind of blind. But yeah, my opponent played d4, and I played my Budapest again. And after the game, when I was discussing with my opponent, he said that I ran straight into his preparation. So he prepared that I was going to play all of these moves, which feels a bit, anyway, yeah, f5 here to preserve this square. Basically, from the get-go, white is already doing pretty well. I kind of played the wrong approach here, in my opinion. Right, a3 to go b4, and I stop it. Rook b1 to build up b4, and I found the interesting move knight e7, just so that I can trade this knight off. Then I can put my knight on f6 and go to e4. So he goes knight g5 to try and attack that, and I capture here and go knight f6. right? In case you're wondering, why not knight e6 to fork this? The reason why this doesn't work is because I have this lovely intermezzo, knight takes e3, attacking your queen, right? So after this swap here, um, I just have two minor pieces for your rook, and I'm winning. Anyway, he goes c takes d5 to cement control over this square before he can then jump there. I go knight f6 to open up the bishop and prevent the knight from forking me, because I would just take it. b4, trade. The reason I was happy with this trade is just because my rook is open, and it may or may not be useful in the lines later. Let's just say that. Queen f3 to protect this square, and I go queen e7 to with the same idea as him to protect this square. Rook e1. Once again, all of us love this square. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, kind of technically 9 because this bishop is pinning the pawn. 9 things are like obsessed over that one e4 square. That's what's so fascinating about chess to me. One square and everyone is huddled around it, like you're huddled around a fireplace with marshmallows telling stories. Anyway, h6, push the knight back, and then I plop my knight on e4, which apparently is a mistake according to the engine. What should I have done then? Stockfish? Huh? Oh, okay. Queen f7. Never mind. I am so wrong. The reason you want to go there is because you threaten this pawn, right? Of course, you're not going to take it immediately just because of some bishop c4 ideas. You're going to go king h8 first, and when they do go bishop c4, you can play c6. I think that's the idea behind queen f7. Anyway, I go knight e4, which, in my opinion, is quite logical. Knight f2, rook e8, building up there, and apparently my advantage is gone now. Stockfish is so hard to please, man. Queen h5. This is a bad move because of knight c3. Yeah. And in this position, takes. And my opponent, absolute like brainiac genius, by the way, Mikhail Tal type shit. You know what he played? Knight g4. Oh my god! Like, who would come up with this in a million years? I saw this move, by the way, like before he played it. So it's not that deep, but it's a crazy move to play to dish out against me of all people. You know, I'm the guy who's known for attacking, and you chuck your knight there like that. Like, what's going on, right? So basically, the idea. By the way, according to the engine, this fails. I played the wrong move. The right move is actually to literally White's bluff. His idea was to go queen there, then to give me a check, right? The reason why this fails for white, though, is because I always have my queen back, and meanwhile I'm threatening this. For example, bishop g6, just queen g8, and black is completely winning here. Black should be having no problems and a piece up. Unfortunately, though, I was in, like, I was under a lot of stress, so I miscalculated. Um, I thought that this was bad for me. Um, like, I didn't see queen f7 for some reason. I was thinking, I don't know, I'm gonna go king f8 or something. So yeah, instead I went queen f7, which is a draw, because he had this beautiful move, and he's threatening a mate in one. The only way for me to stop it is to go queen h7, and he gives me this check, and I go king f8. He gives me this check and this check, right? By the way, it's really easy to blunder mate in one, so guys, be really, really careful. I go king e7. Quick note: this was long play chess, by the way. If you haven't caught on yet, this was a Congress tournament. This wasn't a blitz or anything. So we had plenty. We had like 2 hours of time. Check, and yeah, the engine says it's a draw just because you can repeat. However, as you can see, my opponent got a bit freaky and started to do things he shouldn't be doing, and he kind of got what came to him. He lost the game. But after we discussed this position, my opponent said that this is apparently winning for him. So he went queen g5 immediately, but apparently he could have gone check and then queen g5. I was like, damn, maybe he's right, you know? But of course, the move rook g8 is quite strong here for black. It's not the best move, but I think it's pretty strong. It holds on just about. Just because check, like king e8, and I should be fine, right? the queen's under attack. What are you going to do with the white pieces? Anyway, he got a bit greedy. He thought he was winning, so he just took this. But no, I just take this, right? And I'm threatening to do some really nasty things to him. So he traded and put his king there. And I literally just took this pawn, and I was like, yeah, like, believe it or not, let me switch the board around. Two bishops like this. Imagine having these two bishops, queen like that, a king with no protection around it, and I'm still somehow safe. That makes me go, wow, chess is so simple sometimes. um, yeah, crazy. Queen d5, threatening mate. He has to do something now. He's a rook down. He gave me a check, but little did he know I was able to escape the checks quite easily. And here I'm completely winning. In the game, like, I was considering that he would like do something like this: check, 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 and something like this, right? But this is still once again completely win. Okay, maybe not. Something like this, right? But once again, this is like easily winning for me. I can just any move that I play is winning, right? Um, I'll just skim through the rest of the game because it was easy for me to win. I sacrificed my bishop here just because of this idea where his king is kind of trapped in the corner. And after a few moves, he tried to be a bit tricky, and here he realized he had nothing, and wherever I move my rook, I'm just winning something, so he just resigned here, unfortunately for him. He should have taken the draw. I should have taken his knight on g4 earlier. So it was an absolutely crazy, chaotic game. I had a heart attack, not literally, thankfully. But yeah, that was the game. This was quite a fun game. I learned a lot from it. Once again here, I should have taken this, and I should have been able to find the queen f7, queen g8 resource, which I didn't. So I got a bit lucky, really, that he didn't take the draw. He should have really taken the draw in this position. He should have gone queen h6, but he got a bit greedy, and yeah, I was able to defend the rest of the game perfectly. Yeah. So that's game number 6 for you, right? Now let's move on to the 7th game. This game was rather painful for me. I was playing, so I'm on 6 out of 7. Wait, no. I'm on 5 out of 6 before playing this game, and I'm basically like the second place guy. So I had to like win this, and I'd be tied first place. So let's see what happened. I went e4, e5, bishop c4, and I played something that looks like the reverse Stafford Gambit. Basically, the idea is you're attacking this, and most moves for black is losing here. Knight c6 just loses to knight g5. d6 also loses to knight g5. The only move is f6. It's really goofy, I know. I castled, and then knight h4, kind of threatening this. And the first blunder of the game, I blundered by playing queen g4. This is, by the way, d5. Yeah, I don't need to explain this. The reason queen g4 is a blunder is because it allows simply knight c6, protecting the bishop, and now d5 is a threat, so I have to waste another move moving my queen. Something better here would have been like rook e1, f4 or something, right? The engine says what? b4, what? What the hell is the point of b4? What does b4 do? Oh, okay. Clever. b4 is a really clever move. It's because if I go f4 immediately, then if you're like weak at tactics, try and find the winning move for black. In 3, 2, 1, queen c5 check. Yeah. The move b4 stops that queen c5 so that you can play f4 safely. I should have done that. Anyway, I went queen g4, queen g3, and after d6, f4, black is like winning here pretty much. Already he's winning. In this position, I should have gone bishop d5 or something. Once again, I'm doing really badly, but I'm holding just about. I'm pretty fine, and I can play for a draw or something. Maybe not, but anyway, in the actual game, I went f5, and my opponent played g5. I fought for a really long time here, and I went all in. I'm like, here it's obvious that I'm losing, right? Knight f3, bishop takes. Okay, that's not a good move. My opponent would have probably castled or something. Played d5, sorry. Then, like, castles. This is really good for black. Black is up like a pawn. He might win this pawn soon. He's up 2 points according to the engine. Um, yeah, I knew I was losing here, so as a desperate attempt, I decided to sack my bishop. And this is losing for black, by the way. Try and find the move. It's probably what you think, by the way. Don't overthink it. The move is f6. You attack the queen. It kind of has nowhere to go. If it goes back, then check and mates. And if you take this, then I just take this, right? And the queen has, once again, only one safe square, and this is just mates. So yeah, my opponent was not very stupid. So he instead played d5, counter-attacking the bishop. The idea being, if I just take this, then this is really powerful for black. Anyway, seeing this, I went bishop e2, trying to reroute the bishop to this diagonal and dislodge the king. Problem is for me that after this check, and he takes a second minor piece, he's holding on like from the skin of his entire body just because this game was not close. I deserved to lose this one. In this position, I was considering here queen g7. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't work. Just because in this position, black has this square covered by 2 pieces. So here, queen g7. The rest of the game is quite pointless to look at. Wait a sec. Something interesting happened. Yes, you may be thinking, why did my opponent allow me to promote here? Like, why did he allow this? The reason is because after king d7, my queen is under attack, my rook is under attack. I can't defend them both at once. I'm going to move my queen somewhere, lose my rook, and he's 2 minor pieces up, and I lose the game. So I decided to not promote and instead keep the pressure up and just pray that something happens. The reason I continued to play this position despite being completely losing is because my opponent had less than a minute on his clock, and the 30-second increment really saved his life, let's just say. Played bishop g4 to weaken his light squares, and I'm just going to skim through the rest of the game. I tried to create counterplay. I created a surprising amount, which was a little problem for him just because of his time trouble, but he defended perfectly because he's a really good player. And after rook here, I just resigned. Nothing I can do. Queen takes d8 is like a BM troll kind of move, pretending like there's a stalemate. I just wanted to give him a heart attack, but yeah, I resigned here. That's my 7th game, and I learned quite a lot. I think the mistake was I should have played a completely different opening, just because he told me after the game that he fully prepared for this opening and he knew exactly what to do, despite spending so much time because he was overthinking for no reason. But yeah, that's game 7 for you. Let's move on to the last 2 games. Game number 8. Where is my score sheet? Where is my score sheet? I've lost it for some reason. Don't know where it is. It's probably in my coat pocket. It's on here anyway. So I was playing with the black pieces, and my opponent kicked off with d4 and knight f3. Okay, so a bit of background before the game. It's the 8th game. I'm on 5 points out of 7. I was quite disappointed with the previous loss. My chances of getting first place were basically gone. No chances of me getting first place in this tournament after that loss. I was really upset. But at least I could aim for second place, I thought. So that's why that incentivized me to win this game. And so I prepared against my opponent. He basically plays either the English opening with c4, knight c3, g, or he plays d4, c4. However, here he played this move instead, and he did a Catalan. Fair enough. I never saw him play the Catalan before, so quite new, I think. It's good because I kind of forced him to play a different opening just because he's playing against me. So yeah, maybe it means I'm a really difficult player to play against. I take that as a compliment. Anyway, I decided to go for a King's Indian defense kind of setup, right? After knight c6, so he did a double fianchetto, which I don't really like. I think it's a bit slow and a bit quiet. I found the really interesting move and plan. Knight to d7. Your idea is you open up this diagonal so that you can play e5, f5, f4, g5, g4, and really get an attack and move your king on h8. My opponent goes e4, and I was quite happy with this position. c3 is quite passive from him, so I punished him with f5 and f4, right? And already I'm quite in love with this position. I want to go here, put my queen around, and do some really nasty things to him. So he goes queen e2, and I go queen f6. Queen check. I was kind of baiting this move out because I was really hoping he goes pawn to d5. The reason he played this move is because, well, here he's just winning. He's a pawn up, right? However, try and find the move I played. It's quite a simple move to prevent him from winning the pawn. Well, if someone makes a threat, maybe you don't escape from the threat. Maybe you make a bigger threat of your own. And yeah, after moving the queen, then I move my knight and I keep my pawn. And I keep my attack. Boy, do I keep my attack. You're going to see. c4, g5, right? I just want to go g4, f3, and lock this bishop in the corner. So he goes rook e1, which is quite a bad move, I think. I don't see much of a point behind this. I go knight g6, which is the best move. The reason I didn't go g4 immediately is just because I felt like he was going to get some counterplay in here and go h3, right? Like that. So in order to prevent knight h4, I played the subtle knight g6 first, the best move according to the engine, just so that when I go g4, the knight has nowhere to go. Anticipating this, he goes knight f1, so that his knight can go there, and that's what happened. f3, which, I mean, even though I have no attack anymore, pretty much my attack is dried up, this bishop is also dried up. So I'm pretty much playing this game a piece up. Like, imagine this bishop like doesn't exist. Yeah, I'm a piece up, right? And the engine really loves this position for me. I go knight to queen g5, sorry. The engine suggests h5, 97. What's the idea behind that? I don't know. To go knight c5, okay. And a5, right. The engine just suggests that I play the middle game, like a piece up. I went knight to queen g5, sorry. My idea was to kind of reroute my knight around like this, 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 and this, right? It will take 4 entire moves though. So he acted immediately, knight d7, knight f5, and yeah, this is the position, right? Yeah. Here I traded queens and I went knight d3, but I was actually genuinely considering doing something like this. And I'm still winning here. The engine doesn't hate it particularly much, but, you know, the idea is basically I sacrifice the exchange, and in return for that exchange, I get a pawn, as well as control over the e5 square and this diagonal, and this bishop is out of the game. So yeah, I'm happy to play this position as black, and the engine is as well. But I thought that it was much safer to just trade queens, trade bishops, and keep playing like this, right? Though here I was genuinely thinking a lot about knight f4. It's not losing or anything, just because, well, the idea, you want to come here, here. So, of course, your opponent has to take. Then this move, right? And yeah, I would have gone like bishop d4 or something. There's no rush to take these rooks just because they're sort of tied to each other. And yeah, it's just a game. But anyway, I just wanted to play it safely, so I went bishop h6 and trying to trade one of these knights off. After this swap, I developed my bishop, and rook d8 was a really bad move by me. It was quite passive, I think. He goes there, and a few moves later, I find quite an interesting plan to attack this pawn. Try and see if you can find it. It's actually like this. Knight here, then there, right? That's pretty much what I did. h3, I go h5 to protect the pawn, and the reason I didn't take, even though it's quite like tempting, is just because he goes knight f1 and attacks this pawn 2 ways. And yeah, I mean, I can hold on to it for a while, but eventually he's going to take and then take, right? So anyway, in order to keep my advantage and to keep this bishop locked up in jail, I go h5. Knight f1, attack this, defend, bishop there, attack, defend, and c6. And here it's clear that he's losing because I'm going to take this and open up the c file for myself. He decided to take on his own and allow this really massive d5 push. And after this trade, here it's clear that he's losing whatever he does. You can go rook c5, I guess, but yeah, the engine says knight e4. That is pretty strong. I did see that during the game. He goes knight to c4, but after this check, he resigned because of this continuation here, right? And that was quite a simple win for me, I think. This is quite overpowered just because of c3 and c2, and this bishop is really good. So yeah, he has no compensation whatsoever for being technically a bishop down, and he just lost just like that, right? No light work, no reaction, pretty much. Yeah. So that's game number 8 for you. This video is longer than an hour. Great. Finally, game number 9. I'll just go through it really quickly. This was one of the most entertaining games that I've played, right? So I was playing with the white pieces, and we started off with the Sicilian defense, and he played like kind of a Sicilian Khan or something. I don't know what it's called. A6 just to stop my b5, by the way. So f4 just to kind of, I guess, get control over this. And also my plan is to put this there, short castle, and do a kingside attack. So he goes b5, quite an aggressive move, I think, and a3 to stop b4 and that f6 pressure here. So he goes there and up to queen f3. Yeah, queen f3 was not the best move because I'm stepping right into the path of that bishop. Anyway, he goes knight f6 and bishop d3, h5. h5 was really interesting by him, just to stop me from going g4, but I don't think I'd responded well to it at all. I don't know. I feel like I didn't do the best thing. What does the engine say, by the way? Oh, okay. It says I should have castled long or something. Yeah, it's alright. Anyway, I go h3, knight f5, knight e2. Right? This was a big mistake by me. Here I fought for like 10 minutes because I literally didn't know what to do, how to deal with this knight c4. In reality, literally all I had to do was castle, capture the knight, keep my king safe, and put my rooks in the center and just play on, right? Yes, black has a bishop pair, but it's an equal game. Unfortunately, I kind of panicked and I wasn't prepared well enough, so I played knight to e2, right? Really bad move just because it allows him to come in. Yes, I did have defensive resources such as bishop c1, but bishop c5, really good move by him, and I'm already losing. It's the opening and I'm in a losing position pretty much. But by a miracle, somehow, he was under time pressure in this position and he played a slightly dubious move d5. Just because it allows me to go e5, and yes, he has ideas like d4 to open up the bishop. But in this position, after a capture and rook d8 castles, I'm just about holding on, you know? Knight a5 kind of gave away the entire advantage. And yeah, in this position, now I'm the one who's actually winning, right? What does the engine say? Rook a to d1. Okay, yeah, so the engine says I should not have rushed to take this knight. But yeah, I took the knight anyway, and by the way, he goes queen takes. Rook takes d4 is pretty bad just because of, yeah, knight b3 or rook d1, and it's not good for black. Anyway, he goes here, and after this trade, we end up in a position where, I don't know, the engine says it's equal, but I felt like I was winning, if you know what I'm trying to say, just because I'm a pawn up. But the reason I think it's a draw is just because, well, first of all, I've overextended these pawns, so the moment his rook gets active, it's going to cause a lot of problems for me, so I won't be able to push my pawns up. I won't have time because I'll be defending these pawns. Second reason this endgame is actually decent for black, because of this pawn fixing the position of those two pawns, so I can never do anything here, right? And finally, because his bishop is better than the knight. Anyway, the game goes rook d8, rook b6. We swap here, and it's a dead draw, basically. Dead, even position. Nothing happens. Trust me, nothing exciting happened. Oh, okay, fireworks, right? I found this deflection sacrifice to win the bishop, to win the pawn, essentially. Um, but yeah, it didn't do anything to... Oh, this is apparently losing for black. What? Apparently, I had to take this. Yeah, I saw that move in the game. How? So, so you're telling me I should have won this game? Oh, I should have won this game, man. I could have won this game, but it's alright. It's not a big deal. It's fine. Um, yeah, I just played this game literally like a few hours ago before recording this video. That's why I'm kind of still thinking about it. And the other games I've moved on from, but this game I haven't moved on from yet. I should have done this anyway. I thought I was a genius by putting my rook there, but it turned out to be a mistake, right? Because I mean, my idea was to basically go king here, b4, and just put my pawn and king like this, like a shepherd and a sheep, basically. But yeah, that's not what happened. Um, yeah, here it's just dead equal. He tried to be a bit clever with king c3. By the way, after king e2, I did calculate, and the engine seems to like the move king c4 as well. Basically, in the game, I saw like this kind of continuation, right? King d4. But like the moment I go here, black is able to come with the king like this just in time, and it's a dead draw, right? If you count everything, um, black has a move such as g5, right? Oh, white to move, sorry. Yeah, this is like a dead draw, h4. Uh, like white has no way to protect this pawn and win that pawn at the same time, just because black is always a move away from taking the pawn. This is a dead draw, surprisingly, right? Um, you can try if you want. You can try to win, fair enough. But like, you know, black is always gonna take the pawn. So yeah. Oops. What's happened? Okay. Yeah, just a dead draw if I go like king e2, king c4. He goes king c3 to try and be a bit clever because you know rook b1 capture, right? But here the idea is this is actually losing for me, and it's a really subtle difference, but it's because the king is actually able to protect this pawn. Instead of going behind and claiming a draw, black can go there and protect the pawn and be winning, right? So in sight of this, after king c3, I go rook a2, just so that I can get activity there. And after this capture, e5, king e3, probably the best move here. Rook a5. Oh, by the way, here, king c4 is a clever move by him. Really clever move to get me thinking. I wanted to go king e4, but problem is it immediately loses because check and you take the rook. So yeah, I went rook a5 instead of king e4 just to put an attack on the pawn. Gives me check, comes here, and now I could have taken this. It would have been a draw, but the least risky way to play is rook a2 and to create a fortress basically. And it's a fortress because black literally can't break through. He's gonna obviously protect this pawn, right? And as long as this rook stays on the second rank, this pawn and this pawn are going to be fully intact, right? And the black king can really not do much. It can go around there and it can't do anything. You'll see how. So I was just messing around. Tried to get his king around to the king side. Why is my computer so laggy? But yeah, in this position, he's completely pinned down. And yeah, all right, thank you so much, Stockfish, for suggesting us rook f5. So helpful. Thank you, Stockfish, so much. Anyway, yeah, it's pointless for me to show you the rest of the game. He did give up the pawn just for fun, just for giggles, really. But yeah, yeah. In this position, he offered me a draw, and I accepted. And yeah, that was it really. The result, I ended up getting third place in the tournament, tied with a bunch of other people. So yeah, However, there is a prize for like people under the age of 21, so I hope I win win that prize. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Very very long video, like 1 hour and 20 minutes long. But considering that one of my games literally took 5 hours, this video should be nothing for you guys. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hug your parents.